Hello, my name is Reesha, and I am so glad you're here with me today. Today, with the Y of San Francisco, I'm going to be talking about nature at home. This is part of the Y of San Francisco's Classrooms for All. If you want to follow along in today's activity, you will need some apples, you'll need a cutting board, you'll need a knife to cut the apples, you'll need a container that can go in the microwave, and some water. And you'll also need the permission of a grown-up at home and maybe their help to do some of the cutting. So you might be wondering, what's all this stuff around me? I have some corn here because I harvested this today. This is corn that I grew from seed, and it has such beautiful colors. And these apples I actually also grew in a garden where I work at a school. And you might be wondering, where is the school? Oh my gosh, it's so great that we're thinking about place and where things are. If you're in San Francisco, you're actually on Ramaytush Ohlone land. So I want to take a moment to acknowledge the Ramaytush Ohlone people. And if you're somebody who wants to learn more about indigenous land and the land that you're on, you can actually go to this website, native-land.ca, and learn more about how to acknowledge the land that you're on and the first people that were there. I'm so grateful for the land that grew this corn and these apples, and today we are going to learn how to make applesauce and apple butter. These apples are the fruits of the apple tree. Amazing. You'll see here that I've cut a few of them open, and I want you to notice that they've started to turn a little bit brown already. That means they're oxidizing. As the inside of this apple is exposed to oxygen, it'll start to brown. I like to cut my apples, I like to cut them down the middle to show the star on the inside. It's amazing. When this apple was growing on the tree, it had a flower that had the same shape as that star. And as it was pollinated, that flower started to blossom behind the bud, and it started to form this fruit. So this fruit is the result of months and months of amazing coincidence. All of these things coming together. The weather had to be right, the tree had to be healthy, there had to be water and minerals and nutrients being drawn up from the soil, through the roots, up the trunk, out the stem, and there were leaves on this tree that were photosynthesizing from the sun. Amazing. So all these things had to come together to make this apple. And then on top of that, there's a lot of energy that went into making this apple get from its place of origin to here today. I picked this apple, I put it in my car, and I drove here. Now, if you're getting an apple from the grocery store, it's possible that it might have even gone overseas. The next time you're getting an apple at the grocery store, I want you to look at the sticker, and I want you to notice the place of origin. If you have the means, that might be one way that you can help make a positive impact on nature from your very own home, is by choosing to buy produce that is closer to you and has a smaller carbon footprint. Often you're supporting local farmers who work very hard to produce that fruit. And you'll even notice when I cut open this apple, there was a little damage done on this fruit. Now, because these trees where I work, we don't spray anything on them. We want the plants to be healthy and integrated into the larger ecosystem. There are some pests that made their way into this apple. But you know what? I don't want to waste this food. So instead, we can cut up the apple, and you'll notice you can even try experimenting with cutting them in different fun shapes, like cutting around the star in the center. You might even decide to use this as a stamp if you have some paint at home. And you want to cut up the pieces to about that size. You can see I already cut some up. Now I want to show you what you can do. Once you have cut open your apple, you can cut all the little pieces that are good for eating, and that way you can minimize the waste that you produce. You want to make sure these go, the waste parts are going to go in the compost. If they go into the trash, then they're going to end up in the landfill and produce methane gas. Methane gas is very damaging to the ozone. If they go to the compost, then and you're living in San Francisco, they go to the Recology Center. The Recology Center has a composting system that introduces the right moisture and heat so that microorganisms can break that material down and reduce it to usable compost that can be applied to the soil again. So I'm going to encourage you to use your composting system. It's a really great way to make a positive impact on nature. So once you've cut up your apple, minimized the amount of waste that you've created, and used all the little tiny pieces, you can put them into a bowl that is safe for the microwave. And you want to put in a little bit of water. And you might decide after you've microwaved it for maybe a minute at a time or 2 minutes at a time, you might decide you need a little bit more water or a little bit less water. I like to start with maybe half the amount of apples and stir it every once in a while and put it back inside. You might decide to add some cinnamon or other spices too. Or if you want to make apple butter instead of applesauce, yum, you can use a crock pot overnight. I actually made some apple butter that I'm going to share with you. You can see that in this recipe we added some cinnamon, and you're going to put the crock pot on high for about 1 hour and then give it a good stir and then turn the heat down to low for as many as 11 hours overnight. Now for this recipe, you don't actually need to add any water. It's just apples and cinnamon and maybe a little bit of sugar too. It smells amazing. I'm really pleased with how mine came out. It looks almost like brownie, delicious chocolate sauce, but it's made entirely from apples, sugar, and spices. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. It smells like a delicious apple festival in a jar. Oh my gosh, incredible. This jar of apple butter started as 8 pounds of apples. To give you some context, this little apple here is about 1/4 pound, not even. So 8 pounds of apples in the crock pot overnight created this apple butter. Amazing. There's so many ways that we can remember that we're connected to nature, even when we're at home. And I'm excited to remind you that nature is everywhere. So the next time you're feeling like you're really missing playing in nature, don't worry, you can be refreshed even from within your own home. I hope you had fun making apple butter and applesauce with me today and thinking about where we live and acknowledging the land and the people on this land. And I want to thank you so much for joining us at YMCASF.org/classrooms for all for more classes. Hope to see you again soon. Thank you.
Did you know that YMCA of San Francisco never closed? When shelter-in-place happened, we could no longer provide in-person programming. We quickly shifted to provide youth and family programming virtually. As early as April, we started providing on-demand activities in our YMCA of San Francisco YouTube channel.
For this video, we're going to be making a geodesic dome.
Today, we're going to be making a hovercraft. The science around this activity is really awesome.
In addition, we have a regular schedule of activities for our youth and families to join live. We feature read-alouds, yoga, family Zumba, arts and crafts, drawing clubs, and more. So don't miss out on our virtual youth and family offerings. Visit www.ymcasf.org for more info and class schedules.